And one of the biggest stars of the moment is 22-year-old Claudia Schiffer.
How did one face sell a fantasy so perfectly that an entire decade copied it? Before social media, before filters or influencers, there was Claudia Schiffer, the German teenager who became the blueprint for 1990s beauty. One black and white campaign made her world famous, turning the guest name into a global phenomenon and Claudia into the face of a new kind of glamour. She wasn't rebellious or edgy. She was impossibly composed, a vision of blonde perfection that designers, photographers, and tabloids couldn't stop chasing. But perfection has a price. Behind the smile and the headlines was a shy girl learning to control an image that everyone else claimed as their own. So who was the woman behind those photographs? And what really happened to the supermodel who seemed to define and then disappear from the decade she helped create? Before the world knew her name, Claudia Schiffer was just a 17-year-old student from a small town in Germany, planning to study law like her father. One night in Dusseldorf, a scout from Metropolitan Models spotted her at a nightclub and invited her to Paris.
This French agent from Paris came up to me and said, "You should be a model," and I just thought that, yeah, he must be joking, can't be serious. There's no way I could be a model.
It sounded absurd, but she went anyway. Within months, her first test shoots were circulating through French magazines, and editors couldn't look away. There was something almost architectural about her beauty, precise, symmetrical, impossible to ignore. Then came 1989. Guess Jeans hired photographer Ellen von Unwerth for a new campaign, and together they created something the industry hadn't seen in years. Black and white photos, retro styling, Claudia channeling a modern Brigitte Bardot, sensual but self-possessed. It was commercial, yes, but it felt like art. The images captured a confidence that wasn't loud. It was composed. They didn't shout for attention. They held it. At the time, most fashion advertising was slick, saturated, and hyper-glamorous, a glossy reflection of 1980s excess. Guess broke the pattern. The decision to shoot in black and white, with vintage-inspired sets and cinematic lighting, made the campaign feel timeless rather than trendy. It looked more like a memory than a sales pitch, and that contrast changed fashion marketing overnight. Guess co-founder Paul Marciano later said, "When Claudia wore the jeans, they sold out." The campaign didn't just sell denim. It sold a mood, a story, and a woman who seemed to belong to another era, yet completely owned her moment. The campaign was everywhere, on billboards, in magazines, across every airport wall. Guess became a global name, and Claudia became its face, the new definition of glamour. What made the photos work wasn't just her beauty, but her awareness of it. She understood how to use stillness, how to let the viewer come to her. That subtle control became her signature. For fashion, it was a turning point. After a decade of sharp power suits and cold perfection, Claudia's softness felt radical. She made classic femininity modern again. The Bardot comparison followed her everywhere, and while she didn't seek it, she learned to use it. The familiar image that opened every door. By the end of that year, she had gone from small-town anonymity to international symbol. But success came with a catch. The world already thought it knew who Claudia Schiffer was. From now on, she wouldn't just be modeling clothes, she'd be managing a myth. The Guess campaign had made Claudia a sensation, but it was Karl Lagerfeld who turned her into a symbol. He'd seen those photographs and immediately wanted to meet her. "She's the new face of Chanel," he declared. And just like that, the 19-year-old from Rheinberg was walking her first couture runway in Paris in 1990. At that time, Chanel was in the middle of a transformation. Lagerfeld had revived the house in the 1980s with energy and wit, but he wanted someone who could represent Chanel's future, youthful, approachable, and unmistakably glamorous. Claudia fit the vision perfectly. She became his muse, opening and closing his shows in tweed mini dresses, pearls, and hot pink bikinis stamped with double C's. Lagerfeld once said she embodied the modern Chanel woman, fresh, disciplined, and naturally elegant. Her presence softened the brand's image without diluting its luxury. She could sell pearls and denim with the same conviction, and that duality fascinated him. Her arrival marked a new chapter in fashion's hierarchy. The supermodel wasn't just a model anymore. She was a brand, a personality that could sell fantasy as much as fabric. Alongside Naomi Campbell, Christy Turlington, and Cindy Crawford, Claudia helped define the new elite. They weren't interchangeable faces. They were women with names everyone knew. It was also the first time models held real power. They negotiated rates, turned down jobs, and demanded creative input. Claudia later recalled that era in Vogue. We wanted to have a say in everything. The runway wasn't just about clothes anymore. It was a stage, and the supermodels were its stars. But even at the peak of supermodel excess, Claudia was different.
I don't ever feel any competition. I'm always myself, and I always try to be happy with whatever I'm doing, with the things I'm choosing to wear.
While tabloids manufactured rivalries between her and other models, she refused to play the game. What set Claudia apart was her precision. She wasn't chaotic or unpredictable on the runway. She was composed, exact, every gesture calculated, but never forced. That professionalism earned her the loyalty of photographers, designers, and editors who valued reliability in an era built on spectacle. But in 1993, that carefully managed image collided with tabloid spectacle when she met magician David Copperfield at a celebrity gala in Berlin. For 6 years, their relationship turned her private life into public theater. She sometimes appeared on stage with him, levitated, sawn in half. The fascination was instant. The world watched a woman famous for control step into literal illusion. But the attention came at a cost. When Paris Match claimed their relationship was staged, Copperfield filed a $30 million defamation suit and won. Claudia later admitted how draining it had been. I was open and honest about my relationship with David, and look where it got us. All the lies that came out were so stressful. It was so unfair. When they finally separated in 1999, both cited their careers. The whole saga exposed something fashion had often missed about her. Beneath the perfect image was a woman still learning how to protect her private life from public consumption. By the mid-1990s, Claudia had become the face of both high fashion and mass culture. Chanel on one side, L'Oreal and Revlon on the other. She could move between couture and commercials without losing credibility, something almost no one else managed at that time. But as her fame grew, so did the gap between the woman and the idea of her. The more perfect she appeared, the less people saw. And in fashion, that kind of perfection always comes with a warning sign. And that warning sign came sooner than anyone expected. Claudia Schiffer wasn't just successful, she was everywhere. To the public, she seemed untouchable, the flawless blonde who never had a bad photo, never a scandal, never a visible crack in the image. But perfection can be a trap. The same qualities that made her famous began to make her predictable. Fashion had built her into an ideal, and then decided it wanted something else. The rise of grunge and the anti-supermodel look, pale, disheveled, deliberately imperfect, made her polished glamour feel out of step with the decade she helped define. Suddenly, editors were talking about realness and edge. Claudia represented neither. The cultural tone had shifted. Magazines like The Face and ID championed the unpolished street style of a new generation. Girls like Kate Moss and Kristen McMenemy who embodied a kind of fragile authenticity. Next to them, Claudia's classical symmetry looked almost too cinematic, too flawless to be real. What had once been aspirational now felt, to some, unattainable. It wasn't that she changed, it was that the industry's mirror did. The media leaned into the contrast, manufacturing rivalries between her and other models. They called her the Barbie of fashion, while praising the new faces for being raw. Valeria Mazza was marketed as her successor, while younger blondes were introduced as the new Claudia. It was a strange kind of erasure, being so iconic that every new girl was described in relation to you. Claudia rarely pushed back publicly, but the cost of that composure was real. In an interview, she admitted, "I've never liked myself too much. I've always thought I was too shy, too reserved, that I should be more open, more this, more that. But I've learned to say to myself that I am the way I am, and the more I am myself, the better I'll be." Being away from friends and family for long periods of time was the hardest part about being a model, she later revealed in interviews. When asked about her personal life with Copperfield, she said, "I don't want to talk about my private life too much." The constant attention took its toll. "On vacation, it has bothered me a lot," she said. "After a while, it became so bad it was affecting the rest of my family too." At their house on Mallorca, we had 20 photographers out on the wall every day. The discipline that made her a supermodel was the same discipline that kept her functioning under impossible pressure. She remained polite, professional, and punctual, just as she was when she started her career in her late teens. But maintaining the image meant never letting anyone see the person beneath it. The common misperception about her, she said in 2020, was that she was cold or aloof, when in actual fact, I was just shy.
I was also afraid as well doing shows because I'm basically like a shy person, and to go out there you have to have a lot of, you have to be really strong and, and don't care about all those people.
By the 2000s, Claudia Schiffer had already lived through every version of fame. Instead of chasing what was next, she started deciding what was worth keeping. The constant flights, the revolving door of campaigns, it had all served its purpose. Now she wanted control over her image and her time. Through that decade, she built a second career based on precision rather than visibility. She fronted selective campaigns for Chanel, Ferragamo, and Guess Again, but on her own terms. Her strength was consistency. While the industry cycled through reinventions and breakdowns, Claudia's appeal stayed the same: timeless, reliable, and self-aware. In 2017, she turned reflection into work. Her book, Claudia Schiffer, and the exhibition Captivate reframed the supermodel era through her own lens. It wasn't nostalgia, it was documentation. She selected images that captured both the glamour and the machinery of fashion. A reminder that she had been both subject and witness to one of the industry's most mythologized decades. Critics praised the exhibition for giving context to an era that had been oversimplified as excess. When she reappeared at Versace's Spring 2018 show, alongside Naomi, Cindy, Helena, and Carla, it felt less like a comeback and more like a full circle. The crowd erupted, not just for nostalgia, but for recognition. Claudia's walk that night wasn't about reclaiming relevance. It was proof that she'd never lost it. Her secret, after all, had always been control. She understood that mystery ages better than exposure. And by keeping just enough distance from the spotlight, Claudia Schiffer managed to do the impossible: remain timeless in an industry built on expiration dates. When you look at today's models, do any still carry the kind of influence she had? Or did that era end with her? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.